Hey, do you want to build a stronger family, create a better life? Well, that's what Divorce with Heart is all about. It's a show where I guide you along your divorce and co-parenting journey using the heart's wisdom, intuition, and legal expertise. So sit back, take a deep breath, relax. My name is Gina DiPrima. Let's get started. Hey, good morning. Happy or afternoon. Geez, it's afternoon, I guess, already. It's 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. Happy Monday. Today is episode 22, and I want to explore this whole idea of relationship replay. And I think it's a good time for it because part of this whole thing about relationship replay is this idea of letting go. And you know what? It's fall, and that's what the fall reminds me of. It's like it's perfect time to just let things go. I mean, why not? Look around outside. Nature's doing that, right? The leaves are turning colors. They're dropping from the trees. Days are getting shorter. So it's like, let's just stay in flow with nature and let things go in the fall. So in the spring, we can come back like spring chickens and be reborn. So, all right. I know you can probably hear my printer in the background because today has been a crazy, crazy day for me so far. I was in court all morning and just like rushed back here, only coming back to my home office, I'd say about 10 minutes ago to help prepare for this show and all of you. So what you hear are the notes that I made. And of course, I have like the slowest printer in the universe over here. So I'm sorry. And give me a call because maybe if you call me, then we can just chat and we won't even hear that noise in the background. So, all right, there you have it. So today I want to talk about relationship replay. But before I do, and just keeping in mind that what I just said about it being fall and that, you know, I know a lot of you are walking around, and if you're in the middle of that's loud. If you're in the middle of the divorce, or maybe you're having a custody battle or some sort of dispute. I mean, I know what it's like because I'm working with people like you every single day, you know, in court, out of court. I work with people like you as a lawyer and as a coach. And I know the feelings that you're carrying, and I know how heavy it is. I know that load of anger and the frustration that you have. And again, you know, this is about letting go. So if that interests you, if you are even just a little bit curious about how you can change your perspective of your situation, you know, change your perspective of your heartbreak and your breakup and your divorce, and instead of letting it really tear you down, if you could even think about the idea that I'm always preaching here, which is that it can really be this opportunity for you instead. It can be an opportunity for you to grow and really take a chance or take the opportunity to look at yourself and find out more of who you are and what you're made of and what you need in this world. And if you can look at your breakup as kind of catapulting you there into this wonderful opportunity for growth instead of this gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching heartbreak and this, you know, drowning pool of anger and frustration, if you can kind of do that little tweak in your mind and you're ready to explore that idea further, then I really want to invite you to give me a call because that's exactly what I work on with people every single week in my divorce intelligence group. We navigate things like the legal process. We navigate all of the emotions that you might be experiencing, you know, the emotional roller coaster, and we bring in the spiritual elements as well so that at the end of the day, you're in a place where you're feeling better. You know, you're in a place where you've got your mind and your heart and your spirit all working together, aligned and coherent and synchronized so that you're making better choices and that you're living an easier, you know, more happy, peaceful life. And so if that interests you, again, I want to invite you to give me a call, get on my calendar. It's super easy. You just go to you go to www.doorwaytoheal.com. And that'll take you through a process where you have to complete a little application, but you'll get on my calendar that way. And it's a totally free call. I'd love to talk to you more about the program because I'm really looking to put the next group together for a start date mid-October. So that's really a month. That's 30 days away. So if you think this is your time, if you're ready to, let some shit go this fall and start turning your life around, then please go to that website, check it out, and let's chat about your situation and see how we can get you in a better spot. Okay? So, relationship replay. When you are going through this heartache, I know how hard it is. I know what it feels like to lose the person that you love, right? But I was thinking about this. What's worse than that? What's worse than that, I think, is waking up to realize that in the process, you've also lost yourself. Think about that. You've lost the person that you love, and really, you've lost yourself. I know that there's some of you out there who have had this awakening or this realization, right? And it can be super terrifying and scary. I get it. And the reason why I'm starting here is because that is the basis of relationship replay, okay? Because either we can wake up to discover the fact that, oh my God, we have lost ourselves. We don't know who we are anymore, or maybe we just don't know ourselves in the way that we thought that we knew ourselves. And we can take that sort of wake-up call or that realization and embark on a journey of self-discovery, embark on a journey of healing, taking a look at it and treating the situation or your heartbreak like an opportunity, right? Or we can just kind of wake up and go back to sleep. And I think, unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do. They wake up, they have this realization, and, it is so scary, it is so hurtful, that they forget about it. They put it in the back of their mind, they go back to sleep, and they hope and pray that, they'll never repeat the same mistakes again, and that they'll end up in a better place, in a happier place. But they don't really do anything to change it, right? And if this is you, then you know what I'm talking about. Because what happens here, if you don't take the steps to get to know yourself again, this is where you might find yourself, in another relationship, but you're repeating the same kind of thing where you're giving up your voice, right? I hear this so much from people, especially women, just giving up their voice where they start to do things that they never would have normally considered doing. I mean, it was just wasn't even on the radar for them, but yet they're doing it. Why? Because they're not in touch with themselves and their own needs and their own wants and their own desires, and they're trying to please. It's this over-giving, over-pleasing to their own detriment, right? Or, you might, here's another example, unfortunately, where you do things like maybe you move, maybe you just get up, you move, you quit your job, you move states, you do all of this stuff to restructure your life, even your children's lives. And again, for what? Is it because you're listening to yourself and you're in tune with yourself? Or are you repeating the same kind of pattern where you don't hear your inner voice, you don't hear your inner self, you don't know your inner self, and you are, in the situation where you are with a mate or a new partner, and you don't want to do anything to mess it up. You want to keep them in your life. You're being happy, you're having fun together. So you silence yourself, you silence your voice, and you start doing things that you wouldn't do. You go camping maybe. Maybe you're terrified of spiders and you find yourself camping in the deep woods. You never thought that you'd do that, but yet there you are. You're doing it, right? You're going out to crowded restaurants for dinner. And why are you doing that? You don't want to be in the crowded restaurant. In your world and in your mind, maybe You'd much rather be at home, lounging on the couch, watching a movie, but you go anyways. I mean, these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about that end up happening when you don't take the time to heal and you don't take the opportunity that is right in front of you when you're in the midst of a breakup to heal, and you just keep going on living your life kind of asleep, so to speak, and then you're repeating the same thing. It's like this, it's almost like a waking nightmare, right? You're swallowing your thoughts, your feelings, your concerns, and you're just thinking about the other person and the relationship. But you don't have to do that, and it doesn't have to be that way. You can flip that script. You can actually wake up to the fact and say, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to get to know what's going on, start listening to yourself, getting in touch with your needs, your desires, your wants, and then learning how to act on those needs and those desires and wants, right? Learning new ways of being, new ways of relating, new ways of showing up in the world with kindness and compassion, but in a way that is just as respectful of you and who you are and your essence and your energy as it is of the other person. And not this kind of imbalance that can otherwise exist and often exists when we find ourselves in intimate relationships, and that's what happens a lot of times when we're afraid. We don't want to be alone. We don't want to let a relationship go. And there you go. So in relationship replay, this is what I'm talking about. I think it's kind of obvious from the statement, but that's what I mean. It's this idea of, you just got divorced or you broke up with your long-term boyfriend or girlfriend, and life goes on for a little bit. You meet somebody new and, they promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars. Everything looks great. They're wonderful. You're having a great time until one day you wake up and you realize, oh my gosh, right? It's like the same relationship all over again. Or this person that I'm with is just like my mother, or is just like my father, or my ex-wife, or my husband, whatever it is, you can fill in the blank. And it's a sneaky little thing, right? Because this totally happens without warning. It's like we're unconscious to it. It just sneaks up on us. And the reason why that is because, again, we're so rooted in our patterns, and these are really unconscious patterns that we just show up and we play a role every day, day in, day out, and we don't even know that we're doing it half the time, right? We don't even know why we say the things we say sometimes or why we act the way that we act sometimes. We just know that we do it. And if you can think about it, even on a deeper level, okay, what I'm going to suggest, one of the reasons why this happens is because we don't really truly know. We can't truly know, or we don't truly know or grasp who we are, who we really are. In and out, just who we are. And we don't have confidence and faith in who we are, right? We're always measuring up against somebody or something else for a lot of us. And if you think about it, relationships are something that we learn, right, from other people, from other relationships, from our parents, right? We learn relationships even just in being in other relationships. And we learn about relationships, again, through relationships, everything. It's like a circle kind of a thing. So the way that we are and the way that we show up in relationships is something that we learned perhaps from watching our parents or watching some other relationship around us, perhaps from a past relationship that we were in, maybe in this lifetime, maybe in another lifetime. Who knows? But the point that I'm making here is that we are who we are in relationships because of our past experiences in and with relationships. And it's those past experiences that sometimes are just unconscious to us, Okay. And especially when you're talking about these intimate relationships and these romantic relationships, it's just so easy to just fall into the same patterns and start repeating the same thing that you were already exposed to somewhere else. Okay. This is like when maybe all of a sudden you're here's one. I'm sure you could relate to this. You're talking to your kids and you're saying something and, or telling them to go do something, and all of a sudden you hear your mother talking, right? That's why, because we just pick these things up. They just become part of who we are. They're in our energy. They're in our field. They're in our cells. And we act on them automatically and not necessarily by choice, right? Because maybe you never wanted to yell at your kids, or maybe you never wanted to say whatever you just said. Because it's just like your mom. I'll give you an example. In my life, I repeat myself constantly to my kids. Now I tell them, well, I repeat myself because you don't do what I'm asking you to do. If you did what I asked you to do on the first time, there'd be no reason for me to repeat myself, right? That's part of it. Of course, it's part of it. But you know what another part of it is because that's what I learned. That's what I soaked up as a kid. That's what I saw. Part of the parenting thing. That's what I saw my mother doing, constantly repeating herself, constantly nagging, So it's like, even though I don't want to be like that, even though I don't never want to act that way, I'll do it. Or I'll say things to them like we're trying to get out the door and they're not moving fast enough. And it's like, all right, well, if you don't get in the car, we're not going, or I'm going to leave without you. My daughter brought this to my attention the other day. Apparently, I've been saying this for a long time. Now she's 13. And, she was dawdling along. And I says, you know what, if you don't hurry up, I'm going to leave without you. And she's like, you know what, Mom, you've been saying that forever. And I used to think when I was little, like, why are you even saying that? Like, you're going to go to my swim practice without me? Of course you're not. And she's right. It's completely illogical. So why was I saying it? Again, because that's what I was exposed to. And these kind of things pop up, show up, and replay themselves in our intimate relationships, right? And the worst part is that, one, we don't even understand why it's happening. We don't even see it happening. It just kind of happens. And then when we start to see it or notice it or get glimpses of it, it's usually some reference back to a relationship that wasn't good, or a person that we didn't necessarily care for or want to model or act like, right? It's like the person or the relationship that you never wanted to be or you never wanted to repeat. And yet, there you are. And we do see little glimpses of it. It's not like it just will hit you all at once most of the time, but we ignore the little glimpses until the relationship ends. And then that's where we have the opportunity. There's a space there when the relationship ends. There's a space and it's an opportunity, and it's yours to decide what you want to do with it. You can take your opportunity and turn it into something good, get to know yourself. So then, you know what? You're not going to repeat the same mistakes twice, or you can go back to sleep. I mean, that's really as blunt and as simple as I can put it. So let's look at this. The question then becomes, well, how do I stop doing this? How do I stop doing this relationship replay? And the real short answer is get to know yourself. Get to know yourself intimately. Your deepest desires. Get to know your deepest needs, and get to know what is playing subconsciously in your mind that is in your way or preventing you from showing up and expressing all that you are and all that you deserve. That's really the short answer of it. Okay. And when you can get to know yourself and kind of deep dive into this, all right, you can see the role that you've played, how you've shown up in relationship, all right, what your energy has been. And when you can see that, when you can first become aware of yourself and you can see that, then you can start to consider different ways of being. And when you can consider different ways of being and how you're going to show up differently, everything is going to shift for you because your energy is going to change. And when you change your own energy and you take that risk or that chance or that opportunity to really explore the whole question of who am I? What do I need? And to get really real with yourself, when you take that opportunity and you do the work, then you show up different. Your energy changes. And when your energy changes, then the things and the people and the circumstances that you attract change with it. Right? Because it's like we're all magnets in some way, if you think about it like that. And, your whole life, maybe you've been vibrating or attracting or emitting this certain kind of energy that might, at the heart of it, be like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Or maybe you've got some deep pattern running like, I'm alone, or I deserve to be alone, or I'm bad. These are things that come up often, so often for people, and they don't realize it. But yet they live their lives from this kind of false center or false belief unknowingly. And so then they attract people and situations that are going to constantly validate and mirror back to them that they're right. Because as humans, that's what we like, right? We like to be right. We always want to be right. So it's like this self-validating kind of thing, I'm alone. Maybe I'm operating from this, right? I'm alone. That's what I deeply believe in my heart of hearts. And it's a subconscious thing I got going on. And it's there. And I've waken up to the fact that it's there. So how does this play out then? It plays out that maybe in my relationships, I will do things or say things or act in certain ways that at the end of it are going to leave me alone. Because again, that's me, right? That's where I am. Is this making sense? I hope this is making sense. So, and it's not true. We're not alone. None of us are alone. None of us are bad. I don't even think it's true to say, that I'm not good enough. None of us are not good enough. But yet so many of us believe these things. And we believe these things because of something that we have experienced or, been a part of or had, some experience with it, either consciously, unconsciously, intentionally, or not. And what I mean by that, just as a little side note, is it doesn't even have to be something logical in your mind, okay? It doesn't have to be like, oh, you can go back and you have this vague memory of, being a baby in the crib and yelling and screaming and nobody coming for you. And because of that, you were terrified and alone and thought that your needs would never get met. It doesn't even have to be something like that. It doesn't even have to be logical. And in fact, oftentimes it's not logical at all because these are emotions. And emotions come from the heart and they come from a different part of you. They come from your energetic body, your heart center, not your brain. So it doesn't need to be logical, okay? It doesn't even need to be something that you were ever even aware of. There's a lot of research out there for an example of just birth energy, right? This could be something that you just inherited maybe from your mom when you were in the womb, maybe your mom was a young girl and pregnant and terrified out of her mind and had tons of anxiety and maybe she was running this program, right? That she's not good enough or she's alone. And that's where it began for you. So when I'm talking about these things, I don't at all mean to suggest that I want you to go back and sit there and think about it from like this logical part of yourself and try to, what happened to me kind of thing. That's not how it works. Okay. And in fact, if you do that, you might just be tricking yourself because you might latch on to something that you think was a memory. But when you're only in your head, you don't go deep enough to the energetic soul of the program. We'll leave it at that. Okay. So we're a half hour in. My printer finally stopped, but the bad news is it didn't print the whole thing. And let's take a quick break. Okay. Hi, it's Gina here. Did you know that every week I meet with a group of people just like you who are struggling with the pain of divorce? I help them to feel good about themselves again, make better choices, overcome their fears. I call it divorce intelligence. And you know what? It doesn't matter where you are or what stage of the process you're in. It could be before, during, or even after, because we meet online. It's super simple. All that fighting, the crazy legal fees, the constant anger, the frustration, it's not mandatory. You don't have to struggle through this alone, and you don't have to question if you're doing the right thing. There's a better way, and I know it works. Every week in my group, I draw on my legal experience and conscious uncoupling processes to help guide you through the process. And you know what else? I tap into the spiritual realm. I bring ancient healing techniques and soul-level guidance to you so you can experience deep, everlasting change. So if you're ready to heal and save yourself some time, money, and years of frustration, not just for you, but for your kids too, then give me a call and join Divorce Intelligence. It's a totally free call. All you have to do is go to doorwaytoheal.com. That's doorwaytoheal.com. I know you deserve a life of peace and happiness. So if you're ready to really divorce with heart, give me a call. Let's work together. Some of you have questions about your partnership, marriage, or co-parenting situation. I'm here for you. Give me a call in today's live episode by dialing the U.S. number 1-760-456-7277. That's 1-760-456-7277. Talk to you soon. All right. Thank you for sticking with me. Here we are talking about this whole idea of relationship replay and why does it happen and what can we do about it? So, what I was talking about just before the break is that it's our energy. It's our energy and it's not knowing ourselves that kind of lends this sort of thing to happen, right? And we've really got to go back and you got to change your energy. And if you're getting the idea in the sense that I'm talking about in a way, rewriting the past, well, I am talking about that. I'm talking about rewriting your past so you can change how it is impacting you and influencing your present. Okay. And it's a big deal. I mean, I know that this is a big deal. It's certainly not something that you can just go in and be one and done. I mean, that's why people sit in therapy, right? And therapy is great. The only thing that I would say is sometimes therapists approach it just from the intellectual standpoint, just from the person's mind, from a very logical place, which is great and that's fine. But sometimes, and for some people, it's just not enough. It's not enough to get in there and pull the weed, this thing that's been ingrained in your system of I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy or I'm not deserving, I'm bad. And you got to pull that and you got to rework it. It's like rewiring your whole psyche, your whole energetic body, every part of you, and reprogramming yourself into believing, what the truth is. The truth that I am good enough. I am gold. I am 100%. I am worthy. And that is what I need. That is what I attract. That is who I partner up with. So it's a process, right? It's a process to get there. But it's a process that's well worth it, especially if you don't want to keep on repeating the same mistakes twice or getting yourself into the same kind of relationship. Now, one aspect to this that's absolutely crucial, okay, is that you got to look at yourself. So many people I talk to, when I say to them, what's going on for you? How are things going? Tell me about your situation. Immediately, the response has to do with the other person. and everything that the other person is doing or not doing to, drive them crazy or make their life difficult or make them upset and make them sad. And I get it. I know where that's coming from. That's the most basic response, is to point the finger, that no good SOB or blah, blah, blah. But if you stay there and you just consider and only look at those actions and what that other person is doing and how they're complicating your life or standing in your way, it's not going to do anything for you. And it's not going to advance you any further. It's not going to help you to kind of shed your skin, so to speak, and come out as a new person because you're not taking the time to look at yourself. You might feel better doing it. You might feel better going out with your girlfriends and man bashing, or, I don't know if guys do that. I was going to say, if you're a guy, maybe going out golfing and talking about the women, but I don't know if men do that, or if they do that to the same extent that women do that. I think that's a little bit of a difference between men and women, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Give me a call and tell me. But anyway, you might want to do that. You might sort of feel better, at least temporarily, but you're really doing a disservice to yourself and to your life because, if you can't look at yourself and you can't wake up to these things, then there you go. You're going to end up in the same relationship or repeating the same patterns that you swore on, your grandmother's grave that you would never do. Right? So, okay, let's see. Where am I in my notes? My printer stopped, but I don't even know what's going on. Oh yeah, focusing on the other person. I just talked about that. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's another part of what I wanted to mention, because I recently read this somewhere, and I can't remember where. I wish I could, because I tell you. But, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the self-validating loop, where we, something weird just happened on my computer. We like to be right about things, right? And so even though we're unconscious to our programming, we'll act in ways to prove that our program is right. And so something that I also read very recently is that we can either have what we want, or we can have our stories of why we don't have what we want. Think about that. We can have what we want, or we can have our stories of why we don't have what we want. I thought that was pretty profound when I read that myself, and I think it's really, it's not unique to a heartbreak type of situation, but it definitely, I think, hits home here, because when you are suffering or feeling the broken heart and the anger and the resentment and the animosity of a relationship ending, this is when we blame the other person, like I said. And then we have all of our excuses, all of our stories, all of the reasons why we can't be happy, instead of just getting what we want. So if you want happiness, if you want to see yourself, partnered with somebody that can truly cherish you and love you and treat you with respect and patience and compassion and all these wonderful things, then you got to change who you are. You got to look at your energy and what you're bringing into the relationship. Okay. And go after your dream, go after your story, instead of settling to have all of the reasons why you can't have it. Okay. Sometimes I even hear people saying, this is sad. Sometimes I hear people say, I'm just no good in relationships. Or I failed, maybe they failed once, maybe twice, so they just give up. They just throw in the towel. But why? That's sad, right? We're humans, we're social animals. We like to socialize and be with others and feel love. That's the way we're made. We wouldn't have this heart. We wouldn't have this energetic body and all of the emotions that go along with it if we weren't made that way, if it was something we didn't need. We'd just be like computers, robots, and we're not. So I think it's really sad when I hear people say that they're just going to give up, throw in the towel. They're no good in relationships. Instead of having that attitude, look at it different, look at it like, maybe you didn't do anything wrong. Maybe there was no failure. Maybe it was just no different than when you outgrow your favorite pair of jeans. Okay, I know that might sound trivial, but I want to just break it down like this, okay? A relationship doesn't necessarily have to be anything different than that pair of jeans. You had bought into those jeans, you loved those jeans, they looked awesome on you, you looked great in them, you looked sexy in them, you rocked those jeans for years, right? And then all of a sudden, you outgrow them. Maybe your body shape didn't change, maybe you actually didn't physically outgrow these jeans, but kind of gets to the point where if you're wearing these jeans out, people are looking at you thinking, okay, where are you, in the 80s? You get my drift? That's what I'm talking about. So why is it that we have to make relationships and the end of relationships something so much bigger than that? Why do we have to place blame? Why do we have to blame ourselves or another person? Maybe we just got to shift the perspective right there and look at it like, look, we met, we spent 13, 15 years together. They weren't always the best years. They weren't always the greatest of times. We've got 2, 3 children. They're beautiful. They're healthy. They're, educated. One's going to med school. The other's going to be a lawyer. The other one is married. And just look at it for what it is and say, you know what? I'm proud. I'm glad that I took that chance. I'm glad that I trusted myself. I'm glad that I partnered with that person. It sucks that it didn't work out. It sucks that here we are again coming to the end. But why is this got to be anything different than anything else? All things end. Our lives end. That's the only guarantee. So does it, maybe your relationship ends a little sooner than what you would have hoped for? Maybe. But maybe you just grew out of it. It doesn't have to be anybody's fault. Maybe you just grew out of it. That's all. And that's not a bad thing. Maybe he or she or your partner just grew out of it. And that's not a bad thing. It just means you're ready for something else. You're ready for a new story, right? There's something there for you that you weren't going to have if you continued in the relationship, maybe. So I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we over dramatize, and I do it too. Trust me. I mean, we all do it. But I don't know that we need to. And maybe if we can just start thinking about it a little bit different, we can just give ourselves a break for once, and look at it like it is and say, look, I loved those jeans too, and I can't wear them anymore. And I'm not going to go back out to the store and buy the exact same pair because I'm just not the same person that I was in the 80s. Life's not the same as it was in the 80s. We all grow, we all change. It's the same thing here with this marriage and with our relationship. So, and with that, again, you take the opportunity. Take the opportunity to find out, what kind of new jeans look good on you? Which kind of new jeans do you feel good in? Okay, I think I'll stop with my analogy. I'll really get going overboard. But I hope you get what I'm talking about here. Okay. Something else came to me when I was thinking about this topic. And I don't remember exactly why, but maybe it'll come to me as I continue to talk. We all, well, maybe I shouldn't speak for all of us, but I think a lot of us at least believe in the power of prayer, right? And the reason why I would even go so far as to say that we believe in the power of prayer is because I see it all over Facebook all the time. Like right now, case in point, everybody was very worried and concerned about the Carolinas and the hurricane that was to come through. And, all of our friends or family and loved ones that were there, they had to evacuate. And it changes things, right, around the world. And the people that are there, they post stuff. They post stuff on social media, Facebook, Snapchat, wherever it is, and they tell you what's going on for them. And that generates a response. And the response that it generates are other people saying good things, wishing them safety, wishing them health, hoping that everything's okay. And I want to suggest that in those thoughts and in those well wishes sent out across the airwaves on the internet, that is the same as the power of prayer. And it worked, right? Because the hurricane didn't really do what we thought it was going to do. And for the most part, everybody's okay. And if we can believe in the power of prayer like that, then why is it so difficult to believe and understand in the other power of our thoughts and our beliefs? And so then if we are running kind of these unconscious patterns that we've learned in relationships with others, or in observing relationships, or maybe we just picked it up in the womb, but in any event, we're thinking this way and we're believing this way and we're showing up in the world this way, why is it so hard to believe that that also is going to elicit or generate a like response? See, to me, I don't think it is. To me, I think it makes sense. And I'm hoping that I'm breaking it down in a way that it makes sense for you too. Okay? Because to me, it's the same as the power of prayer. So if you are thinking and intending and showing up and your energy is one way, then you are going to get the same kind of partner. You know, I mean, maybe here's a good example. A lot of people have this programming, let's just call it programming of, I'm alone. I used this one earlier. And I don't even want to get into where it comes from or what it is, but let's just say that that's the programming. Well, if you have this going on in you, regardless of where you got it, you might find yourself in relationships with people who aren't available. Now, that could take on many different forms, right? It could be that you're in a relationship with a workaholic, somebody who's always at work, somebody who doesn't like to communicate, somebody who doesn't take the time to, have a conversation with you or take you out to dinner or do anything, right? Well, why? Because you're always alone and you are alone. It could look like all of a sudden you are in relationships with people that have substance abuse problems, right? Because again, they're doing something else. They're not with you. And if they're doing something else and they're not with you, it's validating this program that you are alone. So maybe you had a relationship with an ex-boyfriend who was an alcoholic. You swore to yourself, I will never, ever, ever, ever do that again. Right? Never again. So you go back out there into the dating world and that is top on your list, right? Top on your list when you're going on those first couple of dates, you're watching like a hawk. How much does this person drink? Can they handle their alcohol? And you're trying to find out. You're trying to investigate because you know damn well that there's no way you're putting yourself through another relationship like that, right? And you do it. And you do a great job as an investigator. But what you don't realize, now maybe you get married to this person, what you don't realize, this is how it shows up. Okay, great. They're not an alcoholic, okay? But they are emotionally disconnected. They're still not with you for some reason. Maybe because they're not with themselves. Let's just fill in the blank. This is the guy who, on the outside, looks great. Picture perfect. He passed your alcoholic test. Right? But he's always at work 80 hours a week. You see? And what does that do? It validates that program again. And this is what I mean when I'm talking about relationship replay. It doesn't have to look exactly the same. But the end result, the energy underneath it, the emotion underneath it is the same or very, very similar. And something like that in that example, that doesn't change until you can start to reprogram your story and show up in a sense that, no, you're not alone. You're not alone. You have support. You need support. You love communication. You change these things. So then you find people that resonate with you on that level. So there's one example. There. And I hope you realize that through that example, what I mean, which is so important, that it's not always a logical thing and it's not something that's just going to jump out at you. You may not really realize that it's even happening, right? like I said, in that example, you did your test and you passed the test, but you're still where you're at, right? Let's see. What else? Where am I? I think I've said this 1,000 times. It's your unintentional subconscious thoughts and beliefs that you're transmitting, basically, that you're transmitting out into the universe. And of course, what is the universe going to do? It's going to deliver. Just like it delivers on the power of prayer, it's going to deliver to you. So, when you're at that crossroads, again, you decide, what are you going to do with this moment in your life? You going to make something of it? Are you going to look at yourself? Are you going to try to, get in touch with who you truly are so you can be something different and grab a hold of that story that you actually want, right? Or are you going to just hold on to all of your reasons and all the stories as to why you don't have what you really want? So it's your choice. In the way I see it, really, that's it. You really only have a couple of options here. You can choose to heal, you can take it as an opportunity to grow, or you can stick your head in the sand and you can hope and pray, right? I'm sorry I sound so blunt. You can hope and pray for something different, okay? But that may happen, it may not happen. You might just find yourself in another relationship with a rude awakening again, right? Or, I don't know, what would be the third option, I guess? You can try. I guess you can try to heal a little bit maybe on your own and see how far you're going to get with that. I don't know. So I wonder, do you have any thoughts on this? Are you guys with me out there? I'd love to hear what you're thinking, especially because my notes decided to stop printing. Maybe now could be a good time for me to renew what I was talking about last week. And hold on one second. I would love to do that, but that was about coaches. That was about coaching and what do you do? How do you relate with the other parent? That was last week's episode, and we had to really cut it short. And I'm not even sure how far I got into it now. So, you know what? We'll wait. I'll hold that off until next time. Why don't I just tell you what's on my mind and ask you a question instead? And I would love it if you'd want to give me a call and let me know what your thoughts are on this, okay? So a lot of you out there maybe are already post-divorce, right? And of course, when you are post-divorce, there's always the possibility of a blended family. And hopefully it's not a blended family where you've, kind of created this whole relationship replay scenario, but hopefully you're doing well. And say you've got kids and your kids don't necessarily always get along with the step-parent, stepmother, stepfather. My question to you is, what do you think about that? How do you handle that? Say you've got an access schedule and you know that your kids are supposed to come over to your house, Monday, Tuesday, every other weekend or something like that. And something happens to really disturb the apple cart, we'll say, between your children and a step-parent in the home. There's some kind of an argument. This happens all the time. Usually it's centered around some kind of parenting dispute or a child being disciplined by a step-parent when the child might have the mind of, well, you're not my parent. Why should I listen to you or why should I do what you say? And, of course, that kind of underlies the dynamic, right? Looking for only the parent to say something. But let's just say that something goes awry, right? And your kids now are upset and they don't want to go there anymore because they don't want to be around the step parent. And this could be a fiance or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's just, your significant other. Your kids don't want to go. Nothing against you. Sure, they love you. They have fun with you. Everything's great. But can't stand the person in your life. Okay? So my question to you, and I'd love to get some answers on this, is, what do you think about this? how do you respond? Do you talk about it with your kids and let them explain to you where they're coming from and why they feel the way they do? Do you try to negotiate maybe some kind of meeting? Try to schedule like a meeting of the minds between the step parent or the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the fiance, and the child or the children and yourself, so you can really try to come together on this issue and try to work through it. Do you engage with a counselor or maybe a parenting coordinator to try to, help you through the situation? What do you do? Or do you, because these are other sides of the fence here. Or do you say, I don't care what you say, little girl, little boy, or, you fill in the blank. I don't care what you say, son, or no, son. I care what you say, but this is my access time and you're coming over no matter what. Maybe that's your position. Maybe that's your response. Maybe you want to really take a strong stand and you're the type where you say, oh, well, you know what? It's Monday. It's my day. Come over. You have to come over. The court order says that you have to come over. The judge said you have to come over. I'm sorry that whatever happened between you and so-and-so happened, but c'est la vie, you're coming over. Maybe that's what you do. I'd love to hear from you on this because I think it can go in a lot of different directions. I have my opinion, of course, of what I think should happen. What I always like to see happen in situations like this is I'd like to see the parents working together. I'd like to see parents having conversations with their children and giving them that kind of respect to hear them out and hear their concerns. And at the same time, balancing that with parenting and modeling and showing kids that it's okay to have disagreements with people. It's okay to not always get along. And this is what we do in order to change that, right? And if it means seeking a professional's help and guidance, then you do it. But I'd really love to know what you think about that because it comes up. Here's something else I'd love to know what you think about if you're listening. A lot of times we've got kids that are involved in extracurricular sports and activities, and some of it requires a whole heck of a lot of a commitment, a whole heck of a lot of time. And there's just no possible way that you can schedule all these things on one parent's time, right? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've been there, okay? And this is one of the things I was going to touch on as part 2 of last week's show, having to do with coaches. But I just want to get your opinion, and maybe I'll throw it in there from the answers I get. So let's just say that your child has been engaged in, travel soccer for years, right? Years. Okay. It's nothing new. He didn't just start it. He's been doing this for years and he's really good and he's got to travel around. And it happens that dad is his coach, right? And so dad gives you a calendar of all of the soccer games and all of the out-of-town tournaments and everything that's going to happen. He provides it all to you. Okay. And of course, it's going to impact on your time. So what do you do? How do you think? What do you feel about that? You think that, you should get absolute 100% makeup time? Do you think you should go to the tournaments, to the games, to these, to the events? Do you think you should stay away? Do you think that the time is just quote unquote dad's time? Because like I said, dad is the coach in my example. What do you think? So let me know because, of course, I've got my opinion on that too. And I'll fill you in when I do part 2 of that episode about the teachers and coaches. So think about these questions that I'm asking. I'd love it if you want to, I'll start a thread in the Facebook group, Divorce with Heart Facebook group on both of these issues. And I'd love to just get your thoughts, get your feelings on the situation and get some communication going. And that's about it. We're just about done for today. And thanks for sticking with me despite all of my little weirdness going on here with the printer and losing my notes, etc. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And always know that I'm here, one phone call away. Go to doorwaytoheal.com and let's work together. Let's turn this around for you, okay? Get you back in touch with yourself and living the life that you want to live. Thank you so much for joining me today. Come back next week and be sure to visit my website at dpremalaw.com to book a call, or let's connect on Facebook at dpremalaw, where you can join my group for more support. Please remember that the information shared is for general and entertainment purposes only, and that by calling in or messaging me, we are not creating an attorney-client relationship, and my advice is not intended to be legal advice. For specific legal advice, please contact a lawyer in your jurisdiction.
This show is brought to you by InflowRadio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.